Hello, everyone. This is Marie LaBrosse, and
And this is Dee Dee Gozian.
and you're here today for Kaleidoscope of the Arts. And we're coming to you from WKDW 97.5 FM, Real Community Radio, coming to you from the Northport Art Center.
Northport Art Center, yes. And
Yeah, and
we're
also, yeah, the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower. It'll be airing on Wednesday. Dee Dee, go ahead and talk because I'm having hammering in the background. So,
oh, okay.
okay, and tell us about what's happening at the Northport Art Center.
Well, I was hoping that you could show a video, and I wanted to thank everybody. A few weeks ago, we had the Giving Tuesday challenge, and we asked for monies to provide art lessons, weekly art lessons for the Loveland Center participants here in Northport and Port Charlotte area. There's about 14 participants that were interested in having some art classes at the art center, and we wanted to provide them for year-round art classes once a week on every Friday. And we had our first one this last Friday. I believe it was the 8th. Yes, the 8th. And we have a video on our Facebook page that shows a little bit about the class I wanted to share with everybody as a thank you, and here's how your dollars are helping.
Put your shark's teeth and your starfish and your little shark in the water there. There it goes. Oh, and look at some of that glittery sparkly.
Could you tell what the art project was?
Um, was it glass? They were
It was
doing.
snow globes. They made snow globes.
Oh, okay. Oh, great.
It was fun. It
That
was real.
that looked like a lot of fun. Also, I want to talk again too, Dee Dee. We want to promote what the Northport Art Center is doing for a fundraiser, and we'll talk about artful bowls because people can still have the opportunity to buy for a gift for somebody or buy for themselves a bowl to finish or to actually buy one already finished, and you get an ice cream
Yes.
token from Culver's, and it's so you can go in and have a bowl of ice cream supplied by Culver's, but you also get a bowl and a beautiful bowl. And a few weeks
Yes.
ago, I should actually put a picture so we can put a picture of the different bowls up. Do you have something right there?
Not right here.
No, no, not right here. But if you go back to one of our older shows, you'll be able to see the bowl. However, what I did is I purchased a class of 10 because right now, because of social distancing, only 10 people can come to a class at a time. And I bought it for Christmas gifts. It was $25 per person. They're going to be able to come with me when I decide, after I get my vaccine, to have this class, but they get to pick out a bowl and paint it with the colors that they want to and get together. I'm going to bring in some drink for them to have and for them to have snacks and evening with my friends and
Yeah.
their family member. But it's going to be a fun time because let me tell you, just like the rest of you, I don't want to be stuck in the house all the time with COVID, and I haven't been going anyplace. However, I will be bringing my friends with me to the Northport Art Center for an evening of fun. So if that's something that looks like a good thing for you to do, not only that, you're helping out. One of the jewels in Northport is the Art Center. And a lot of people in the area do not know Northport has an art center, but hopefully they're learning now that they do have an art center. And what better way to get out of your mind and to get rid of that mental health issues going on than to create and
Yeah,
be with friends and family. So, thank.
excellent.
Okay, so Dee Dee, what else is going on there? What's going on with the kids?
Oh, we had our free Saturday, and we will continue to have our free Saturdays. Every Saturday, children between the ages of 6 and 12 are invited to come to the Art Center. We have 2 classrooms going on now for social distancing, so there's 20 children still, 10 in each classroom, and it's 100% free to the children of the community, and no matter where you come from, just be here by 10 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. To 11:30. Parents can stay or they can leave and come back if they have a registration with emergency contact filled out. Every Saturday is a new art project. Every Saturday is a different teacher. They have different, yes, please wear masks. We require all COVID-19 guidelines here at the Art Center. We serve many ages of people. We serve a lot of elderly people. So we are especially careful, make sure that we contain what we can.
And when you're talking about that, creating art is just, when you create, when you use your hands, when you use your mind, and that you can get lost out of the worries in the world. You really can.
It's true.
And how much do we all need to have that little break in life right now? Correct?
Absolutely takes you out of what's going on in the world, and you can create your own little world and your own little satisfaction and your accomplishments. And I think everybody needs a break from today's everyday's some stuff going on somewhere. COVID, people coming ill, family members becoming ill, worrying one thing after another. I myself have worries with my family. So, we all need to take a break and get our thoughts.
Yeah. And with the COVID numbers going up, my mom has COVID. A friend just died of COVID. So they're just this last couple of days. So, it's real. And with the insurrection that happened at the the U.S. Capitol, and the bad things that we see happening in the world, we're going to talk about things today. We need a break. You get bombarded wherever you go with everything that's going on. But today, we're going to take a break from it and learn about pies. And
what a great subject to learn.
Culinary arts. And if we were a person, we would have had her come in and do taste testing with us.
We're back again.
So, do you have anything else that's going on at the Northport Art Center? Classes going on?
Well, I do have tomorrow starting our first Scratchboard Zoom class. Everybody has to be signed up, whoever wanted to attend that. And you can look on our Facebook page and our website for information about that. But anybody that's interested in doing a Scratchboard in a Zoom class format is welcome. Give me a call. It's 941-423-6460. It's $40 for 4 weeks of classes, and you can learn all about the basics, and you actually have an image that you'll be working together with the other students in. So that's the first time that and you have to sign up by tomorrow. It's 4 weeks long. Then there will be another 4-week one you can sign up for.
Do they get the supplies, or how does that work?
It gets ordered through Amazon. We order the supplies, but we do have some here if they wanted to come to the Art Center to get some supplies for it. But Scratchboard is ideally a great type of art medium to take along. You need an X-Acto knife and a little Scratchboard. That's really all you need to do it. You can take it with you in a plastic bag and sit in a doctor's office and work on it while you're in the waiting room. It's that easy.
Wow, but you have to be talented, because I've seen some of the Scratchboard work. And I am not detailed like that with them scratching and getting the details.
Talented is something you learn. Patience is what you need. Yes, it is not a medium that you can do lickety split. You actually have to think in it and have some patience. True.
Well, enough with all of this because I'm sure our audience is waiting for our guest today.
I am.
Well, because before we bring her up on screen, Ellis White is very instrumental in a lot of things in the Northport area, in the city of Northport. And in case people don't know, we'll be talking about it, but she's been here, and I believe it's since the 70s, that might even be the 60s. She's been very instrumental in a lot of the development of this area, especially people for trees, and we'll talk about that. But we're going to bring her on because of her pies and her cooking, because that's an art form. Not that growing trees aren't, or she's running for Northport City Commissioner too, but we brought her on for the pies. So,
Hi, Alice.
Hi. Thank
Yeah.
you for inviting me. I just wanted to clarify, I've been in Northport since 1990. All
Oh,
right.
1990.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
that's still quite a while. That's
Yes,
30,
30 years is a long time, and a lot of changes that has taken place. Right.
Yeah, and you've been very instrumental. But before we talk about all the changes that you've seen, and I've been here since '87, so we're in that
Yeah.
realm that we've seen such growth, especially in Northport. I've seen so many changes in Northport. It was the sleepy little one light town at one time that you just went flying through.
Right.
And there wasn't that much happening up there, except the Old World Cheese Shop.
That's right.
Yes,
It was still called that, the cheese shop. Yes.
yes, yes. And now it's the Old World Restaurant.
Right.
But we're going to talk to you about your pie making. Now, 365 days a year you're baking.
Yes, that's right.
What are you, insane?
You have to love it.
You have got to love it. And how did you get into this? Because on the bottom of the screen, people can see Pie-Licious Bake Shop.com, and I'll bring up her website in a little bit. But I just wanted to talk to the audience to say, when I was looking for Christmas cookies, because we're having something happening at our house right now, and I didn't have an oven. So I had to look around for getting Christmas cookies, and my sister actually ended up sending me a care package because I was whining to her, because she would send it to me all the time while I was working. Why aren't you sending me something this year?
Right.
But people recommended you, so
Good.
that's one of the things that how I learned. I knew who you were, Alice, but I didn't know that you did baking. And
Okay.
no, that must be how you earn your money, right?
Right now,
Yes.
it's been a side thing. I was a teacher. I retired at the end of 2018 after 36 years. So that's really how you could say earned my money as a public school teacher. But yes, but I started baking pies about 10 years ago from my home kitchen here.
Now, what did you teach?
First, I taught high school algebra. I'm originally from New Jersey, so I taught high school up there, and after 6 years moved down here and was teaching at Port Charlotte High School for 5 years algebra, and then really wanted to teach elementary school. So then I moved over to Vineland Elementary in the Rotunda and finished up my career teaching second grade primarily and third grade, and then went into STEM, if you know STEM, science, technology, engineering and math, and finished up with that, which was a lot of fun.
Now, this is really interesting because I heard, now that you said that you taught there, I've been involved in the Charlotte County School District for a long time. We raised a grandchild, and I was the only parent at one time sitting on the calendar committee.
Okay.
And I was involved in SAC in all three, elementary, middle school, and high school. And I remember your name coming up at time, but I didn't know who you were at that time. Now I know who you were, so I can put a name with a face with a name. Looking at that, so you never taught home ec?
No. because I was very practical when I became a teacher. I didn't go to college right after high school. I waited like 4 or 5 years, and then really, I always wanted to be a teacher since I was in second grade. So, and I was told in high school that it was an oversaturated field and I would never get a job. So that's why I said, okay, I'll just work in the office for 4 or 5 years. And then I decided, no, I really want to see for myself if I can get a job. And I did. 2 weeks after I graduated, I had my first teaching job. But somebody said, well, if you really always want to have the upper hand, either be certified in math or science. So I finished up my math accreditation and became certified to teach math. So that's really what kept me going. And when I came down here, I wanted to teach elementary school, and there were hundreds of applicants for elementary positions. But when I went and interviewed at Port Charlotte High School, he told me there were exactly 4. There were 4 of us who interviewed for the high school math position, because they're just, you just don't have people going into teaching math and science, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. Very interesting about you, because I have not ever had the one-on-one like I should have over the years talking with you, because I've been around here forever. When I'm looking at math and baking, you have to know how to measure. And that's one of the tricks of it. Now, did you bake all your life, or did you take it up as a hobby later, Martha Stewart?
Yes, right. In fact, it's funny you say that, because when I was teaching, I used to do a once a month club for my fellow colleagues, and I called it the Martha's Club, because I would have them come over and we would do the things that were kind of involved that you would read about, like, how to make your own bagels. It's a process, or how to make your own homemade jam, or how to make homemade cinnamon rolls. And these are all things that baked from scratch, and I would have the teachers come over and we would do something like that. But you're right about the measuring, because I did do baking with my students. Once a month we would have a baking activity that was centered around either a story that we had read or something that was going on. And you're absolutely right. When we get into fractions, especially in third grade, and they have to measure 3/4 of a cup, most measuring sets don't come with 3/4 of a cup. So you get into, well, how can we get that with what we have? And it definitely, utilized, and you had to have math skills, and the kids saw how it was functional. It was really made sense to learn about fractions, and then it made more sense to them what a fraction really was.
And when you're talking about that, how many of the kids in today's world, graduate from high school and they don't know how to bake or cook or boil water, or if it's
Right.
to measure something, they don't have that skill set. And I really do wish that they would bring home ec and shop back into the schools, because I think it's a practical life skill that
Yeah.
everybody should have. And when I graduated, girls weren't offered shop at that time, but over time that changed. Because
Yes.
I would have loved to have taken shop.
Yes. I actually did in high school, and you're right. When I tell people, I grew up in the time when, you're right, it wasn't automatically offered, though I wanted to take it. And of course, at that time was when they had to start changing what they allowed girls to do. And when I say that to people, like my own son, he just cannot fathom being told you can't do something because you're a girl, or that's only for guys. And I remember taking a shop class in high school, and I was the only girl in the class, and it was kind of strange for the boys that were there and the instructor, because I guess they would talk a certain way if I wasn't there, or do certain things. And they had one bathroom, of course, because it was only guys that were ever in there. So, it was a lot of different things they had to start doing.
Oh,
Yeah, and this is so interesting, isn't it, Dee Dee?
It is. I remember. I remember being back whenever you had to take home ec because you were a girl, and whenever you're in 4-H, you had to do sewing. And
Yeah, right.
absolutely, it was like
Yeah.
that at one
They wouldn't
time.
even offer you the other things. Like, wait a minute, I want to learn how to, hammer a nail, and oh no, this is what
Absolutely.
you're doing. Okay, and you just kind of went along with it for a
And
while.
if you were interested in sports, you got to be the cheerleaders on the side, or you were the
Yes.
booster club. I remember
Right.
hockey. I was a hockey booster club. Wasn't actually involved in sport. You're allowed to cheer on the side or
Yeah.
do things to help the guys.
Right. Right.
Absolutely. Coming up in March, we can do another show. On my other show, I have Sleuthing Eye Opening Tales of the Past. And on that show, in the month of March, I normally will do a woman's right
Yes.
show. And I've done it where it's a couple of weeks long because so many of the kids today, the girls, do not realize how hard we had to fight for the rights that they take for granted today. I remember that you can, even as a woman, I'm getting off track here, but even as a woman, if you were married, you can get a loan without your husband's signature. You can go get credit
That's
without,
right.
and
You're right.
my
Yes.
one girlfriend, they wouldn't give you a loan if you were pregnant.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of things that our girls today are not aware of because they did not grow up in that time. And when we say the bra burning and that, we had a fight. We had to scratch our way. I'm not the scratcher. I wasn't one of them marching in the lines and that. I was cheering them on from the sideline. I was the
Right.
boosting style. But we do have to teach that to people, just so to girls especially, so they realize we did come a long ways, but we haven't even reached where the top of the summit yet.
Right. You're absolutely
Or
right.
whatever that we have to do. Okay, so let's get back to baking. So when you must have grown up then that you were baking all the way through your adult life.
Yes, when I was a kid, my mom cooked and baked, and she was really like the Martha Stewart of her time back then, doing those things that you would read about, like making souffles and making flaming cherry jubilees, and again, growing up in the '60s, that was the time when, unfortunately, and I don't mean um, to insult anybody, but that green bean casserole that people love at Thanksgiving, which is made with canned soup and can and everything. That's when that kind of so-called cooking was coming out, and the TV dinners with the foil on the top. It was just horrible, horrible food, actually, but it was just, to be quick and get to it. And my mom would make everything from scratch, and it was great. And that's really what I learned from her. And as a side note, Martha Stewart was from New Jersey. She was from Nutley, New Jersey. And I actually, when I lived there, went to see her childhood home. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, I have to admire what she's done because she grows a lot of her things and farms.
Yes.
There. And you look at it, and I know she's had her issues and that, but she's a survivor.
Yes.
And she really she knows what she's talking about. When she's
Yes.
growing things or when she's cooking, she actually does this stuff,
Right. Right.
And
And what I really admire about her too is that she really talks about being self-sufficient, that you can do these things and not have to buy them necessarily or say, gee, I have to get somebody to do this. But she really shows that no, you can figure this out, or it's so simple to do. Some of the things are a little more complicated than others, but that's the challenge of what she gives you.
well, and that goes back to Alice White because you take on those challenges. You make your own pie crust, and
Yeah.
that is, what do you use for ingredients in pie crust?
Well, it was a lot of trial and error, but I settled on half and half butter and half shortening, and half Crisco, and that's what I use. And it was getting again all the right ratios of flour and salt and the water and getting that right consistency, because it's all about the flakiness, and people need to know that the flakiness comes from those little tiny chunks of butter that are left in the pie pastry when you're making it. So that's what gives you the flake. And when I would teach my junior chefs how to do that, I said it's very quick. You have to work very fast, and you can't, you don't want your hands on it because you're going to melt the butter, and there goes your flakiness. And that's the opposite of when I would teach them, for example, how to make pizza dough, because that's about warmth. You actually do want to have your hands over it to warm it up. And the key ingredient in having a nice flaky pie crust is the gluten as well, that you don't want the gluten to activate. So I put in a little bit of vinegar in my, I'm giving away all my secrets, but it's out there. Some people actually put vodka in certain pie crusts when they're making like a cherry pie. They'll use vodka instead, because the alcohol will again keep the gluten from activating, and that will give you the flakiness. Whereas again, when you make bread, you want the gluten to activate, which is why you knead it and stretch it and get it to do that. So even when I talk to people about how gluten works, I can tell that they're like, oh, didn't really know what gluten does.
Right.
And the difference between wanting it to activate and not wanting it to activate.
And you're talking about the science and the math behind
Yes.
it.
Right.
And that's so critical. This is where a teacher's brain comes in too, because you're looking at the whys. Why is it doing this? Why is it acting like this? Now, when you do your pie crust, do you use one of those old-fashioned blender things that you mix?
You know what I did when I first started? Yes, and I still have it. That the pastry cutter is called. But after I started getting more and more orders, that was just not practical to do. So I learned how to do it in a food processor.
Okay.
And of course, that's all about pulsing it, not processing it. You don't want to process it, because you're gonna ruin your butter. You won't get those chunks. So that's why if you ever watch the shows, they just hit it until it just combines, and then they take it out and finish it up.
Yeah, we're learning tips today, Dee Dee.
I know. I'm paying attention.
Yeah, absolutely, because part of art, the culinary art, is learning how to do all these things. And I think a lot of people think culinary art, they're thinking of the chefs doing this and that. Well, baking is a culinary art too, and that's why we want to have Alice on, because she is a culinary artist. And your pies do have a beautiful look to them. In fact, we'll be going to your pie site and taking a look at that, and we'll look at your Facebook page. No, Ellis, crazy Ellis. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because you're running for Northport City Commissioner in today's world. I don't know why anybody would want to be in politics. So I'm going to say to the same person that is sitting here with us, Ellis White, why do you want to run for the city of Northport City Commission?
Yeah, it's a good question, and you're right. I ran for county commissioner, and yeah, it was. I have to be frank. It was a hostile environment. I was stepping into the belly of the beast, so to speak. Luckily, the city commission is nonpartisan, number one, but it's also because, as you mentioned, I've lived here for 30 years, and I have been an advocate for the people for 30 years, and everything that I've done is to connect with people. Is to connect myself with people, and for people to connect among themselves. And that's what, I want people to know is my common thread through everything I've done, whether it's beautifying our community with planting trees, to having my junior chef cooking classes, to baking my pies, because I've been to farmers markets. And also, you didn't mention, but I do play guitar and sing, and I've been involved in acoustic jams. Again, it's all about connecting with people. And that's what I figured, that's what a city commissioner should do, is connect people together and know about what people want. And that's the best way to advocate advocate for people, is to understand and be working with different circles. And I think that some of our commissioners are kind of separated themselves from people. So I think that's really why I wanted to run. I just figured it's a natural uh, point of my life that I've come to, that after doing this kind of like on the side, and besides teaching and being a single parent, doing all these activities, now I can really dedicate a lot more time to doing that, since I don't have to work full time anymore.
Well, and that's wonderful. We'll talk about People for Trees, which I brought up on the
Yes, I
tree.
see that. I'm impressed that you can do that. I don't think I could do that.
Oh, you can after you learn. You do enough. Anybody that can bake or cook are goddesses in my world.
Okay.
Truthfully, because I'm not the best in the kitchen. In fact, I because I worked in business all my life and I've always been in management and that, I didn't have time to. And when I was home, I had too many kids in my life. So anyhow, enough about me. Um, let's talk about People for Trees. How did you get involved in this?
Well, that was, I formally organized that in 1997. And that came about because I moved here in 1990. I built my house, same house I live in today. And I just fell in love with Northport and its natural environment. And I said, this is paradise. This is real Florida that I'm seeing. And at that time, when houses were built, they only removed basically what was needed for the footprint of the house, and everything else stayed. And then that started to change. And I kept lamenting about it. And my young son at the time, he actually said, "Mom, stop complaining and do something about it." So I said, "Okay, maybe there's other people who feel the same way I do." So I called my first meeting at the Northport Library, and 6 people showed up, and we eventually grew to a membership of 300. And we started the tree festival. Again, an idea that I captured from the county. The county had a tree fair for a couple of years, and I thought, Northport should have a tree festival, and I brought that into the city. So that's how People for Trees started, and we advocate for our native tree canopy through plantings and through that tree festival and programs. I see you have the page where we're giving away 100 free trees for people that attend our Zoom tree workshop on January 21st. And that will teach them about the native trees that do the best in this area, how to plant them, take care of them, and then they can pick out which native tree they would like. And they'll come here where I live, and take it home. So we're doing that for January, because January 16th is actually Florida Arbor Day. This is actually the best time to plant a tree in Florida.
And that's information that we all need to know, no matter where you live in Florida. That is the best time to plant. Now, how do I register for the Zoom class here, the presentation?
Yeah, there is a
link
link.
right
I don't know. Is it on that page? I think
it's right here. Let me
Yes.
see if I can highlight it for people in blue.
Yeah. It's on there, and it's also on our Facebook page, or People for Trees Facebook page. It's listed as an event. It's also a post, and if they just click on it, it takes them right to the Zoom registration link, and they'll be on there.
And I would recommend to people, if you're really concerned about your environment up in Northport, this is something you should attend, because in Charlotte County, because that's where I live, we ended up with a restriction on the footprint of when you build a home. They have to actually mark them. But it came about because I worked for Kmart at the time, and Kmart developer went into the footprint where the old flea market was, and it was actually a historical piece of property.
It was.
There were huge oak trees on there.
Yep.
We were devastated
Yes.
that the developer removed them all. They were over 100 years
Yes.
old.
Right.
And that was a Zemel property. And I do history. I do a history show, but I also do trolley tours too. And one of the things is that little orange stand there was a railroad depot. That was such a historical piece of property there,
Yes.
and it got destroyed because of the development
Yes.
of Kmart was there. But today you have all these different stores that are in there now. We're on the corner of Cochrane and 41
Yes.
for our audience to know. It made a huge difference. People were devastated
Yes.
over what happened there. Us as a corporation were devastated because we didn't know, we only rented that. We didn't own it, and a lot of people don't know that. That's probably one of the downfalls that Kmart did. They never owned their property; they always leased. So,
Right.
anyhow, going back to that, it's so important for the environment and for air, oxygen, for us breathing on this planet. We need trees.
Yes.
So,
But it's also so much for our quality of life, and that's one of the points that I'm campaigning on as a Northport City Commissioner is just to maintain our quality of life has a lot to do with keeping our and respecting our natural environment around us, because it goes a long way in having building communities and building our neighborhoods. And they have plenty of studies that show the greener an area is, that the more socially adjusted people are, and you have far less crime. But as an area becomes urbanized and you start having concrete and asphalt take over, your crime rate has a direct correlation with that, and it goes up, and people start having a lot more social well-being issues, and that all goes together. And some people think it's just that I'm simplifying the value of a tree, but no, it does show that green is a comforting color. It's why a lot of these TV broadcast places, they refer to it as the green room, because they painted the walls green to calm people down before they're going to go on a TV show. So green does have a lot of effect of our lives.
right, even a green screen. When you have a green screen, you can put other backgrounds behind,
Yes.
but you need to have that green screen. Otherwise, you get partial faces. I want to go back. I want to bring up your website for your pies.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, let's talk about National Pie Day
Yes.
coming up
Yes.
really, really quickly. Let me see.
Now that's January 23rd is National Pie Day. Now that's PIE Day, and that's not to be confused with National PI Day. And if you can scroll up a little bit, well, you can see in my
Look at the pie and the pie sign.
yes, and that is a nod to my math background, that I just thought I'm going to use the PI symbol, because that's how you find area and circumference of a circle, and pies are round, so that all goes together. But that is March 14th is PI Day. Referring to the mathematical pi is March 14th, but National Pie Day is January 23rd. Yep.
Okay, and let's talk about what your pie menu is, because you can order pies. And I'm going to tell the audience we did buy a pie from Ellis, and my family raved about it. So I can tell you right now that she is one of those people. When you get the pie, you'll be very pleased with it. And we were talking off air. She makes it for the person. It'll be custom made. If there's a specific way you want a pie made, Ellis is the person to go to, because how many times can you buy a pie and it's made to your specific order?
Right. And what kind of pie did you order?
We had the Christmas pie. We got
Okay.
a small one because we didn't want to overeat.
Yes.
And
now that has the apples as a base, but it has cranberries, fresh cranberries that I simmered in a simple syrup. And again, you're not going to get that going to a store and buying a pie like that. And also, I focused on pies years ago because for some reason I just said, you know what, the pies that they sell in stores, and even the stores that people rave about, they really aren't what pies were what I was used to being brought up with. And even when I made pies with my students, we would make little apple pies for Johnny Appleseed Day. They would say, "Gee, I've never had a pie that tasted like this." And I would say to myself, "Yeah, because you're eating that stuff that they sell in the stores. That's why. That's not a real pie." So, because when I use apples, I actually peel them. I have one of those rotating peeler things, but it's still, I'm peeling them by hand and putting them right into, the bowl and adding my ingredients. It's not sitting in that, the sauce and getting really soft and soggy. And that's why the apple pie remains my top selling pie.
I noticed that your one pie had little hearts all over it. Do you do like cookie cutters and decorate the
Yes.
top however you want?
Yes. When people order pies and they start telling me why they're ordering it, or I can tell it's for an occasion, I ask, is it for a birthday? Because I have birthday cutouts that I put on it. I've had people celebrating, anniversaries, and I've put, bells on it for wedding things. So I know if it's for a special occasion, I will, put that on there. Yeah.
They're beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and when we were talking off air before coming in, because my husband, believe it or not, wanted to know about how she made the pies, and if, in fact, he may be watching us outside right now, because he does come in and watch our Facebook Live once in a while. He wanted to know, okay, I want a blueberry pie. Is it the canned stuff that she's putting in, or how does she make that? So go ahead, Alice. What was your response?
Yes, I make all my own fillings. Nothing comes from a can. So, when I have an order for tomorrow for a banana cream pie, and I make my own cream filling, and that's basically, flour, sugar, cream, and you have to stand over the stove and stir, stir, stir. It's one of my more labor-intensive pies, but what a difference that makes. And when I make my chocolate cream pie, it's Ghirardelli chocolate that I use in that. And the blueberries, I started using the wild blueberries that comes from Wyman's up in from Maine. And yes, they're frozen, but that's how I start. And then I add the sugar and the cinnamon and some butter, and that's why there's a big difference. What I'm doing is get away from people only knowing a pie because they bought a can and they poured it into a prepared pie crust and saying, here's a pie. And I'm not putting people down who do that, but that's not going to give you the real taste of fruit and of what a pie really should taste like.
And rhubarb. She sells a strawberry rhubarb, but I'm from the world that we only have rhubarb pie. So I'm going to be ordering a blueberry pie and a rhubarb pie from Alice, and I'm making an announcement right now that we will be ordering that for her for the January 23rd for National Pie Day. And I imagine your pies will freeze up fine in case somebody wants to get it for a later date and it freezes okay?
I don't recommend freezing pies. It changes the whole consistency of the fruit, and it tends to make the crust soggy. But I tell people the pies will last, for actually, a few weeks. There's nothing that's really going to go wrong with it. If you keep it in your refrigerator, just keep it well chilled. And but what I also tell people is you don't really have to worry about that because that pie's not going to be around that long.
It will disappear. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we're almost done with the show. It went by that quickly. I wanted to tell the audience, if you go to Pie-Licious or her Facebook page, her phone number is scrolling across the bottom to 941-468-2486. You can order pies from Alice. She takes texts because you and I text at Christmas time. So I would recommend that if you're looking for something that's actually special, homemade, this is where to go. Truthfully, it is it's excellent. I can tell you that her pies are excellent. Now, Ellis, how many pies can you make in a day?
In a day, I usually 50 is my limit. That's what I'm doing at Thanksgiving, because that's all I can handle. I have, two refrigerators that are just what I call my pie refrigerators. They only get plugged in when I'm baking at Thanksgiving, because that's when my orders are really up there. But I bake quite a few pies. In fact, when I was teaching, I was at excuse me, I was at school and I had a business at Christmas time saying they wanted to give out pies for 10 of their clients. And this was during the school day. I happened to hear the message and she says, well, I really would like them for tomorrow. And I said, okay. So I knew I would have to go home and make 10 pies that night after getting home from work. And I did it. And I thought, okay, I could do that. I could make 10 pies in an evening, and it's really no problem. So, and that's how you learn what your capabilities are. Like, I'll give it a try and see how it works out. But yeah, I typically like to stick to 50 pies a day when I'm doing my Thanksgiving orders, because after that I just become too like crazy.
Absolutely. Now, do you have any health? And when I say health issues, because I have a hip problem, so a lot of times I have a problem with standing for so long. Do you have any issues? How are your feet? I know I'm asking all these things that people, but if you bake or if you cook, sometimes that becomes an issue.
Yes, and you're right. No, not with my feet, because I learned to buy one of those really good those mats. Yes, and I had to learn, because I always would just be in my bare feet. I had to start wearing, sneakers to give my feet support. And then I hand roll every single pie
Well,
crust.
I was going to
And
ask you, Peter.
yeah, and this season after Thanksgiving, I started to develop. I don't know. Somebody said, maybe a carpal tunnel thing here, just from that. But it seems to be going away now. So I don't know if that's really what it was, or just that strain. Yes, unfortunately, as I'm getting older, these little things become an issue. But it doesn't stop me from doing what I'm doing.
No, and evidently you love it because why would anybody in their right mind do it? Unless you love something and you're
Yes.
passionate. You're
Yeah.
passionate about it and you're bringing joy to a lot of people by baking.
Yes, because
Yeah.
myself, when I see that pie, and everyone is different, since every pie is hand done. I still don't know what it's going to really look like totally when it's finished. And as it's baking, I'm like, wow, that looks really good. And that's the same reaction I get from people when they pick it up and it's not what they were expecting. They're like, wow, this is great. Plus, what they comment about a lot is the bag that I put it in. Because presentation is everything. Another Martha Stewart tip there. So I have these really nice cellophane. They're clear plastic bags with the regular handles, and you wouldn't believe how many comments I get when I give them the pie in that bag, and they're like, "Wow, that's a nice bag."
Presentation is everything. So you need your own cooking show, your own baking show.
Yeah,
That would be great.
Yeah,
yeah.
you really do with a video. Thank you, Ellis, so much. And I want to remind the audience Ellis is running for Northport City Commissioner. She's been here 30 years. She has done a lot for the community, not only people for trees, she's been feeding people too. but she has been really demonstrative on whatever is happening here. She's been hands on. I've seen things that you've done all the way through the last 30 years. Your name pops up a lot. And I know that Joan Morgan from the Morgan Center,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
named after, and she and I are doing a history of Northport, the city of Northport. You've come up several times in
Mhm.
that of the different things that you've done throughout the years for the community. So I just wanted to say to the people out there, if you don't know who Alice White is, then you must be new to the area and you really need to know that she has done a lot for the city of Northport. So enough with that plug, huh?
Yes.
And thank you so much for Ellis White for coming on with us today. The Pie-Licious lady,
Yeah.
People for Trees, and also running for City of Northport City Commissioner. Thank you,
Thank
everyone,
you.
for tuning in today. And remember, there are choices in life to be kind or not to be kind. What should you do, Dee Dee?
Oh, we always choose
Your
kindness.
kindness. Thank you again, Marie Labras from Kaleidoscope of the Arts with my co-host
Dee Dee Gozian from Northport Art Center.
and our special guest today.
Alice White.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Please be safe out there. Be kind. Get your vaccine. Bye-bye.
Thank you.